Hello, everybody. It's Dr. Stuart Allen Swerdlow.
And Janet Diane Moria Swordlow.
And this is the Expansions News Podcast for the end of the first week of September 2020. You got that straight? It's the end of the first week.
That's a tongue twister.
No, my tongue is cracked. Hey, it didn't click.
I can't understand the word.
Anyway, as you know, I just recently returned from the North American Space Summit in Traverse City, Michigan, which is a very beautiful area up in the northwest part of our state.
That's why Governor Whitmer lives there.
And that's why Governor Whitmer lives there and never closed it down. Isn't that funny? There was nobody with the virus there because she was there.
It's amazing.
Actually, it does make sense because the virus would be afraid of her. Like, oh, ew, I wouldn't get in her body. Ew.
There you go.
Yeah, so that's why it didn't go there. But it was a very, I'll say, interesting summit. Yes, the lectures were extremely boring and I wanted to pull my teeth and eyes out. But I did meet a lot of interesting people, right? Hopefully they're not watching this. And I met generals and admirals and government officials and senators and Congress people and all kinds of intelligence agents people.
So what were you doing there?
I'm telling you, I was just observing. I was an observer.
Maybe it's because of your Montauk alien connections that you were invited to join the Space Force conference.
But I did learn a lot about the technology that's coming. And I also learned about the trajectory of where they're going to be going over the North Pole, over Canada.
I want to do that.
It's going to go over Canada. Actually, the next Prime Minister of Canada gave a lecture.
So
Yeah.
did you write about that on your blog?
No, I haven't really written my blog since then.
So
I've been blogless.
It will be on your blog,
No,
expansions.com.
I don't know.
Get
Maybe I
your
will,
memberships.
maybe I won't. I don't know.
You'll have to find out.
But now I must tell you that we at Expansions are going into an amazing new business opportunity. And I will discuss that, or we will discuss that at the end of the podcast. It's quite an amazing event and an opportunity that actually involves space technology.
And that you also can be involved in.
And you can be involved in it, and if you get involved in it now, by Christmas time, it's going to be really, really, really big. So, that being said, let's go to San Francisco.
I don't want to go there.
It's just west of here.
No.
And guess who was there recently but Nancy Pants. Nancy Pants, House Speaker, went to a San Francisco hair salon this past week for a wash and a blowout.
It's too bad you don't have a Nancy puppet. You have everybody
I
else's
know.
puppet. Why didn't you do that?
You know, it's because it's so demonic. I don't even want it on my hand.
I believe that.
You know, that's why I don't even put Witchmer on anymore. But she had a blowout. I wish it was like a real one. And of course, San Francisco is keeping the salons closed amid this scamdemic. But she was seen walking through. Now it's capital ES, but it's S Salon SF, which is something Salon San Francisco. And she had wet hair and without a mask over her mouth or her nose. And the stylist who was doing her hair can be seen following her wearing a black face mask because it's probably a demon who invited her. Salons in San Francisco have been closed since March.
Wow.
And were only notified they could reopen on September 1 for outdoor hairstyling services only. Who gets
What
their
is
hair
that?
done? It means you have to sit outside and get your hair done. Would you do
Silly.
that?
Well, I don't know.
Well,
But it still sounds pretty silly.
San Francisco, pretty windy and cool. We don't want to sit outside like for a couple of
Well,
hours.
if it had been since March since I got my hair done, yeah, I'd do it.
Yeah,
I
luckily,
would do it.
luckily my hair just stays
You
like,
can't help it. You're
just
not
stays
like,
like this all the time.
ordinary people. You just
I don't-
naturally do
I
it.
just wake up and I don't even have to shake my. It's just like that.
It's just amazing.
It's amazing, really. I can't even help it. But the salon owner, Erica Kios, who did a phone interview with Fox News, said she gave some details of Pelosi's visit, and she explained that she has independent stylists who work for her who rent the chairs in her salon, which is, I think, a common thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know why they don't just hire people and do,
I
just
don't
have
know,
to
but
pay
that's
them, I
but
guess.
that's the industry.
But she said Pelosi's visit was a double standard. I quote from this Erica Kios.
This is a salon owner.
Yes, she said it was a slap in the face that she went in, that she feels that she can just go and get her stuff done while no one else can go in and I can't work. She said, I can't believe that she didn't even have a mask on. And when asked for a comment, Pelosi's spokesperson, Drew Hamill, maintained that the speaker was following the rules as presented to her.
But the salons were
there
closed.
were no rules presented, Nancy, because you're the one that made the rules and kept them closed.
Right.
Okay? So that's baloney. Keough said Pelosi received a wash and a blow dry, but told Fox News that you're not supposed to blow dry your hair because of safety precautions for hair salon. Because you might have little coronaviruses in your hair, and then you'll blow them all over.
I
the
reported
place.
on that actually when it
Yeah.
first came out, which is
Just
ridiculous.
The corona, the little vibe, they let go in your hair and playing with your
Right.
hair, and then they blow them out and they go,
They're trying to get
and
rid
they
of.
scream.
They're trying to get rid of long hair on women.
Yeah. I have some in my beard and they scream when I brush them out. Mhm. So she said, we have been shut down for so long, not just me, but most of the small businesses. And she said she really feels beaten down. She said, I have been fighting for 6 months for a business that took me 12 years to build and to reopen. She said, I'm a single mom, I have 2 small children, and I have no income. So what did Nancy Pants have to say about this? Nancy Pants had the nerve to say that she was set up by the owner who actually did not set her up.
She didn't even know she was coming.
Right, and she said that the owner should apologize to Nancy Pants. So, and she said the only thing that Nancy Pants took responsibility, she said, I take responsibility for being set up.
Well, she knew that the salons were closed because she was part of all of that. The silly.
So, Nancy is a lying, scheming, manipulative demon whose time has come to an end. And I call upon the citizens of San Francisco and California to push her the F out of her position. Why don't you protest in front of her apartment while she's eating her fancy ice cream from her gigantic freezer and laughing and giggling while people are starving and sleeping in the street and outside? Anyway, on to the next one. President Trump said he believes Joe Biden is on some kind of an enhancement based on the former vice president's previous debate performance. Trump has previously called for Biden to be drug tested ahead of the presidential debates, which may not even happen. And he said he's on some kind of enhancement, in my opinion. Trump told Ingram on Fox News when she asked what he thinks Biden is taking. The president said he would also undergo a drug test before the debates, a statement he said before. Now, if any of you, and I hope all of you, have a membership on the expansions and you saw my blog recently, the video that was posted within another video, it shows on his left hand, Biden, a huge black and blue mark with a hole in it that looked like an IV thing had been in there and caused the black and blue mark. It's a needle mark on his left hand, and obviously he is on something, but even with that, he's incomprehensible. Now, this is a very interesting story. The Democratic mayor of Portland, Oregon, is moving from his $840,000 condo to avoid rioters who have repeatedly targeted the building. That's because he allows them to riot in Portland.
No, it's peaceful there, dear.
Ted Wheeler wrote to neighbors in his building to say it would be best for me and for everyone else's safety and peace for him to move from the building that rioters tried to torch on his 58th birthday this past Monday. He said, I want to express my sincere apologies for the damage to our home and the fear that you are experiencing due to my position. Then why do you allow this to happen, moron? It's because of you that it's happening. And isn't it interesting that you're running away and leaving everybody else to get burned down?
Well, so if it's as peaceful as he says, there should not be any fear instilled in anybody.
Yeah, you are allowing the rioting and you are refusing help from the government. Mm-hmm. And so you're running away and leaving your neighbors to take care of your damaged building. You're an effing moron and you should be executed. I'm sorry. Burns me the heck up. It should burn. He should be in the building when they torch it. It just makes me so angry. He says, it's unfair to all of you who have no role in politics or in my administration. You don't have a role in politics. You are a communist insurgent paid by Soros. And you allowed Antifa and BLM and all these communist anarchists to destroy your city, and now you're running away and leaving other people to suffer because of you.
That's like the captain abandoning the ship. And you
Yeah.
know what they do to captains.
But I
who
hope that
abandon
this
the ship.
captain, when he jumps overboard, drowns. Anyway, President Trump called him a wacky, radical, left, do-nothing Democrat mayor of Portland, that's a mouthful, who has watched great death and destruction of his city during his tenure. Yes, he committed a crime and should be arrested and put on trial. Chicago, Portland, and Baltimore have been warned about things that are now starting to happen. And there are more than 100,000 gang members living in the city of Chicago. Can you imagine? That's more than some cities' population. And according to the FBI, 30 gangs in the city have made a pact to shoot any police officer that draws his or her weapon in public. So in other words, if a police officer is defending the public, they will be shot.
That's what they're saying.
That Mayor Lightfoot, they should light her foot and the rest of her. President Trump, this is my opinion, and I hope President Trump and Vice President Pence got my message at the conference. President Trump should declare a national emergency and martial law, my opinion, and remove these gangs, Antifa rioters, and insurgents from our country.
I wonder if he could remove the mayors and these people who are allowing these
They
things.
should be arrested. All the Democratic governors who murdered people in the nursing home should be arrested. They committed murder, and they're committing murder.
I don't understand how they can continue to rule.
I don't understand that either, and that's why it has to stop. If this country is to survive, these people need to be eliminated immediately. I'm not saying to attack them, I'm saying pull them into jail and put them on trial, and then execute them. I would like to help with that, by the way. Yeah. Anyway, here's another moron. Yes, I'm on a rant today. CNN anchor Chris Cuomo, who picks on everybody else and calls everybody else out, has been caught on a secretly recorded conversation denying rumors of sexual misconduct during a conversation with another moron, President Trump's former fixer, what do I call him a fixer, he's a moron, Michael Cohen. Now, according to Fox News host Tucker Carlson, the two men are purportedly heard discussing how journalists have asked ABC, Cuomo's former employer, if women have made allegations against him, according to Washington Examiner. In the recording, Cuomo is allegedly heard saying, and this is a quote, "You know, I'm always careful when I talk to media." Well, that's interesting, since you're the one who makes lies about everybody else. Do you know how many effing phone calls I've received from people at ABC who say that reporters are calling and lying about things they've heard about me to try to get stories about me when I was at ABC? Ooh, that's just kind of what you do about Trump and everybody else, isn't that, Mr. Cuomo? And your stupid brother, Mario? The president on Wednesday responded to the recording by calling on CNN to fire Cuomo. Yes, he should be fired and put on trial for treasonous information that he's given to the American people. This is my favorite quote. This is a tweet from President Trump said, "Will Fredo be fired by fake news at CNN?" Referring to the name of Fredo Corleone, the ineffectual middle son character in The Godfather. And he continues, "He speaks with great disrespect about women, and it will only get worse. Fredo's ratings are bad, so this is a time. Always terrible to speak to sleazebags, especially when you're being recorded. CNN has no choice. Fredo must go." So looks like Cuomo's getting a taste of his own medicine and nastiness. And speaking of nastiness, New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio, whose real name is Warren Werner Jr., all of you people in New York City need to know that's not, de Blasio is not his name. He's using a false name and hiding behind a persona that doesn't exist. Well, de Blasio, aka Werner, said to President Trump, "We will see you in court," after the president threatened the federal funding for Seattle, Portland, New York City, and Washington, D.C. as part of an effort to target anarchist jurisdictions that he claims have permitted violence and the destruction of property during these recent protests. And I agree with the president. They should pull all the funding out. Everybody's leaving those cities anyway. In a memo to the Attorney General and the White House Budget Director, the president called for a review of all federal funds provided to the 4 cities, saying it's imperative that the federal government review the use of federal funds by jurisdictions that permit anarchy, violence, and destruction in America's cities. My administration will not allow federal tax dollars to fund cities that allow themselves to deteriorate into lawless zones. And I agree. Good. I'm glad to hear it. These Democratic-run cities and states should pay for their crimes against the United States.
Well, the thing I found interesting about that, I saw that article as well, is that it did not have Chicago in that list of cities.
Well, he mentioned Chicago in another one, but I think the reason he didn't mention is because Little Lightfoot, she kind of let the troops in a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I think she got a little beat down, which is difficult because she's so low to the ground anyway. So here's another interesting story. This one I found very interesting. Dubai Deputy Police Chief Lieutenant General Dahi Khalfan Tamim said that the normalization agreement between Israel and the United Arab Emirates is good for regional stability and security. And then this is what he said. Israel never threatened us. But you know who did? Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan did. And Iran is threatening us, Tamim told Kuwait's Diwan al-Mullah online TV. The Turkish leader's claims to be champion of the Palestinians was a sham, said Tamim. Erdogan is peddling in the Palestinian cause, nothing more, nothing less. He's just using the Palestinians to boost himself up. Tamim also questioned why any government should require Palestinian approval for a peace treaty. He's right. Tamim went on to say that it was not only the leaders, but the public in the Gulf states that did not like the Palestinians. How could public opinion in the Gulf states be expected to favor Palestinians when they pray for the destruction of our country in their mosque? He then addressed Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh, directly saying, Haniyeh, maybe it's the way you say Haniyeh. I call you Haniyeh sometimes. Haniyeh, when you are being hostile to Saudi Arabia and open your arms to Iran, who do you think you are? Go to Iran and let them help you. Go to hell. This is from Dubai.
Wow.
Ooh, I was right. And you know what else he said? He said Iran has 3 choices, all of which lead to Tel Aviv. Big statement there.
I guess so.
He said Iran can die economically, or it can sign a peace agreement with Israel and coexist with the region, said Tamim. The third opinion is the fall of the regime of the mullahs. The Arabs hate Iran. They all hate Iran, except for Palestinians. So this is a very powerful pro-Israeli statement from the United Arab Emirates. And in following weeks, we expect other countries to join with diplomatic relations with Israel, including Saudi Arabia, Oman, Sudan, Bahrain, and Morocco. And I think Iran will have a new revolution very soon because these people, they're suffering because of the blockades and so on. Right. And actually, just the last couple of days, for the very first time, Saudi Arabia allowed an Israeli commercial aircraft fly across their region, and so did Bahrain, and so all this negativity will be coming to an end, except for Iran and Turkey.
Well, that's got to come to an end in some way.
I can say these things now because I canceled my trip to Turkey, because I know that they watch this, and I know that if I went to Istanbul right now, I probably
would be in trouble.
Yeah, big trouble. Now, you know that it's been cold out, windy. It feels kind of
No,
autumn-like.
it's not been that cold and windy.
Well, it is in the morning.
A little bit. Enough
Right,
so I
it's
can
cold
take the
this morning,
dogs out.
and the water outside is cold. So the weather services have been hinting at a potentially historic blast of Arctic cold engulfing the lower 48 beginning Monday, September 7th, which is Labor Day.
I'm waiting for that.
And the model has been even stronger in the new forecast. The latest run suggests next week could be with a shiver and a shudder. Well, I'm kind of like that anyway.
You are.
Ooh. And the temperature across the United States will drop 18 degrees Celsius below the average. That's a big drop. And record cold has already been suffered in the west of the United States with heavy summer snow across the mountain states. And guess where else? Your country, France, breaks the monthly cold record. And even so, on August 30th, the cold record for the third time in 9 years. Meanwhile, in the UK, they have had the coldest August bank holiday ever recorded, and the Alps and the Pyrenees recently received heavy summer snow. That's probably where your family is.
I saw pictures up there. They have gotten some snowfall.
And according to the Danish Meteorological Institute, or called DMI, and the National Snow and Ice Data Center, NSIDC, did you know that there was a National Snow and Ice Data Center?
No, but I know that there was a National Snow and Ice Data Center.
No, there's no data. Data is on Star Trek. The Arctic sea ice has turned an astonishing corner in these past few weeks. And in order to get a true picture of the sea ice, you need to examine its extent and volume, according to the DMI, or Polar Portal Denmark. And the data clearly shows Arctic ice volume or thickness began building at a record early date this year and at a record pace. Over the past 2 weeks, we have witnessed the earliest uptick in ice building for quite some time. The melt ended and the ice began building the third week of August.
That's why they call it global warming.
Yeah, and that was that week that CNN and all the Yahoo, they said, oh, no, this Greenland is melting, blah. No, it's freezing. And they said this is a historic shift in the Arctic. And after closely tracking the current trend, the prediction is for the Arctic Circle to be all covered in ice within the next 4 to 6 weeks. That means by end of September, early October, it's going to be frozen up there. And you know what that means for us?
What?
All that cold air comes sliding down.
Well, I'm ready for that.
Mm-hmm.
It's too hot.
And the ice has remained in the Northwest Passage this year, despite the decades of dire forecast, and the ice north of Alaska within the Beaufort and Chukchi seas. It's very difficult.
For you.
Yeah. And the doomsday projections made over the past decades have shown no signs of materializing. Sorry, what's his name?
Al Gore.
Al Gore. Yeah, sorry. Polar bears are fine. Late summer Arctic sea ice, the most closely watched measure of the state of the North Pole, has been incredibly stable over the past few decades and is now showing signs of growth. Ice Age is returning, and this winter will be brutal. Brutal. Like when you speak to me when you're mad at me, brutal. Now, I won't go into the new business venture yet until you finish with your thing.
All right. So, I have, of course, very interesting news, as always.
Well, it's a matter of opinion.
Yes, well, mine's extremely interesting. Did you know that Washington and Lee University in Lexington, Virginia is offering a course entitled How to Overthrow the State?
I hope it's only Democratic states.
And believe it or not, this news service, Breitbart News, requested for clarification on whether the students will be trained to overthrow only the federal government or also the state of Virginia, as well as on the educational merit of the course, and how it will shape Washington and Lee students to be successful Americans after graduation. And do you know what Washington and Lee University did? They ignored and did not comment.
So what did that mean?
That means that they're not going to put any more out. But I don't think you should be sending your children to this university.
I wonder if perhaps China gives them donations?
It's possible.
Maybe.
And Marxist professor Angela Davis, she's been around for years.
Yeah, she's still around, huh?
She claims that the BLM riots are rehearsals for a U.S. revolution. They're the early stages of a larger far-left revolution.
Mm-hmm.
And in California...
Why did we let her back from Cuba?
I don't know. California, Contra Costa County.
I was there. I drove through it all the time when I used to go to Oregon.
All right. Contra Costa County has a district attorney named Diana Becton, who supposedly has funded by Soros.
Oh, of course.
And she has taken a tough stand against the police. And she has a law out, or a rule, whatever they call it, requiring officers to consider whether a looter needs the stolen goods before they're charged.
Oh, come on. Mm-hmm. So it means if I need to steal something, I'm allowed? If I think I want that hamburger meat, I could just steal it because I want
If you
it.
think you need a pair of Nike sneakers or a Gucci
I could
watch.
just go and take them, and they can't stop me
Yes.
because I need them.
That's right. That's what she
Brilliant.
has in effect in California.
She must be really brilliant.
And what was interesting is NPR, and I
You know what? Maybe there's something in her house that I really want, so I could just walk in and take it.
basically.
Hmm.
So there's a book out that supposedly is a #1 new release on Amazon by Vicky Osterweil, which actually NPR had her on and interviewed her. And I love NPR, so I was really sorry to hear this happen. But the book is called In Defense of Looting, A Riotous History of Uncivil Action. And basically this book celebrates looting in the name of, in the name of anti-racist action directed at dismantling whiteness and property ownership. So she makes the point that looting during the course of riots is a redistribution of wealth. It's not theft, and that property damage is simply a way to reapportion assets which she deems necessary in an unequal society.
Yeah, except if I came to her house and did it, then she would have a problem.
Well, see, she says this isn't a home invasion, it's businesses that they're looting.
Yeah, but they're doing business homes.
So she said that it's nonviolent and no one gets hurt.
So breaking the glass window and burning the store and breaking it, that's not violent.
She says that looting is a racially biased term because the word comes from a Hindi root.
So we're not allowed to use Hindi words.
She has no concern for the people who were hurt during the riots and looting. She says that's collateral damage. But she says looting strikes at the heart of property, of whiteness, and of the police. It gets to the very root of the way those three things are interconnected,
I wish I could see her right now.
giving people an imaginative sense of freedom and pleasure. Riots and looting are experienced as sort of joyous and liberatory. Most stores are insured, so it's just hurting insurance companies. It's just money, it's just property, it's not actually hurting people.
Oh, really? How about the people that have been shot in the head and beaten up and in comas?
And this is what NPR broadcasts, so this is what's
That's disgusting.
especially interesting.
She
to
should
me.
be arrested for that.
And maybe NPR shouldn't be funded anymore. You know,
Well-
they put all those auctions and things on where people give their money, and this is what they're
If that's what they're
promoting.
doing, then the administrators there should be arrested also. This is inciting violence, and this is inciting treason.
She said she calls it basically nonviolent that immediately provides the ability for poor people who want to live a better life.
How about they get a job?
And this is #1 seller on Amazon.
You're kidding.
No, that's what they said. A #1 seller on Amazon, this
Well,
book.
I'm
So
going to boycott
so-
Amazon.
every time that a small business gets looted and destroyed, guess where people go to buy things? Amazon. And that's why Bezos's billions have increased.
I think he made like $500 billion the first 6 months of this
Because
year.
people were home and couldn't go anywhere and not supporting the small business, so it went there. And Democrats intend to create chaos if Joe doesn't win. Their contingency plans for contesting the election results, combined with polls showing a Trump surge, reveal that the left does not believe they can win in November.
They can't.
So in that case, liberals are preparing to do to the U.S. presidential election what Democratic leaders have done to their cities and states this year, which is create
So you know
chaos.
what? There should be preventative measures and arrest these people now.
Kamala Harris,
Scamala.
Kamala Harris says rioters aren't going to let up and they should not. Everyone,
Right.
this is what was so interesting. Everyone be aware they're not going to stop before election day. They're not going to stop after election
Right. How does
day.
she know that?
That's
Because
right.
she's inciting it.
And because they already know they're not going to win, otherwise, because if their candidate was going to win, then she'd say, oh, stop the rioting.
There's got to be a law that says that these statements are illegal, and President Trump needs to arrest these people.
You know, if we were out there making these kind of
I'd be
statements,
arrested immediately.
we would. They would be knocking at our
That's
door
right.
as fast as you could say boo. Here is a breaking story for you that Disneyland is abandoning California.
Well, good. Everyone should abandon California.
Well, that's what they said. They said they finally had enough. The state is just nuts. And
Yeah.
it says that they have an overreaching liberal government, and so Disney spokesperson confirmed that Disneyland is moving to Texas,
Yay!
although they won't tell where they're moving. Now, what's interesting to me, because we both feel that California is going to be in the sea soon,
Well, yeah, it's pretty
so
much trash
Disneyland
now.
most likely knows that, so they're pulling their assets out.
Yeah, they're pulling that ass
Yes, out.
out.
So it says hundreds of thousands of California residents are fleeing the state now every year because of not only the high cost of living, but the overreaching liberal government, and that the state
Who
is
wants
nuts.
to live in that crap?
You shouldn't be living there anymore,
No.
Californians.
Get
if
the
you
heck
have
out.
any brains at all, get yourself out of there because it's dangerous.
It is.
The geography is gonna go.
It's not going to be around too long.
Fires, earthquakes, you name it, it's there. So why you want to live there?
And I hope
Get out.
Nancy Pants' house is the first one to sink.
Now this was interesting because we've talked about the funding of the riots, but now it's official. Acting Department of Homeland Security, DHS Secretary Chad Wolf, said that the Department of Justice is now actively investigating the organization of violent protests across the nation. Now, Wolf, who appeared on Fox News Channel's Tucker Carlson tonight, said it was absurd to believe that President Donald Trump and his administration are causing the ongoing civil unrest.
Of course they're not.
Tucker Carlson mentioned that Joe Biden said there will be more violence if President Trump is reelected, but Wolf dismissed it and he said, I would say that is a delusional statement.
From a delusional person.
The idea that the president or this administration or the Department of Homeland is somehow the reason or the cause behind the violence is absurd. The acting secretary noted that DHS is investigating the heads of the organizations and individuals funding the rioters moving across the country. Notice they say moving across the country.
Yeah, the airlines are flying people dressed in black, in Antifa clothing, with equipment. Why is the airlines allowing these people to do that? Who's allowing this?
Wolf goes on to say the Department of Justice is targeting and investigating the head of these organizations, the individuals that are paying for these individuals to move across the country. What we know is that we have seen groups and individuals move from Portland to other parts of the country. We had 175 arrests in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Almost 100 of them were from out of state, so we know they're moving. We've seen them in D.C. and Sacramento and elsewhere. They're organized. We know there's organization, and the Department of Justice is looking into that as well. And they have pictures on the internet, like they'll have one person who they'll say he was arrested in Portland, and he was arrested in Chicago, and he was arrested in San Francisco.
Yeah, so why is he walking around?
That's right. He was arrested here, there, and everywhere. So who's bailing them out?
The judges are letting, the Democratic judges are letting them out.
And the celebrities, remember, gave all that money to
But
help
there should be
bail
no
out
bail.
people.
It should be illegal to have bail for them.
And in an interview with Fox News' Laura Ingraham, President Trump referenced the person that you mentioned who flew on a plane from a certain city who noted it was filled with thugs wearing black uniforms and carrying gear.
Yeah, so why would the gear allowed on a plane?
That's right. The president also mentioned these people were ones, quote, you've never heard of, people in the dark shadows.
Yes, I know who they are.
And Trump suggested these mystery people may be facilitating the looting and violence in the U.S. cities and are funded by wealthy benefactors.
That's right.
He said, quote, the money is coming from some very stupid rich people who have no idea that if their thing ever succeeded, they will be thrown to the wolves like you've never seen before. Now, excuse me, it was interesting, his choice of words. Thrown to the wolves because remember, the DHS head right now is Chad Wolf. So thrown to the wolves like you've never seen before. And Trump is committed to holding these individuals accountable. He has made it abundantly clear that there will come a point when state and local officials fail to protect its citizens from violence. The federal government will have no choice but to protect American citizens.
I hope so.
All kinds of things going on. Now, when I read this story, then this next one, I thought this is going to be all over the headlines and boom, into pandemic, right? But no, it's like was shuffled to the side, and I really had to search for it after I saw kind of the rumors, but it's true. The CDC released information saying that 94% of COVID-19 deaths had underlying medical conditions.
Right, that they were not from the virus.
No, that apparently it was, they had posted like 150,000
No,
deaths.
177,000.
And then they took it down to
9,200.
With only COVID-19 on the death certificates were about 9,700, according to this article. Yeah.
So there's no pandemic.
No, so why are we still doing this?
You know, why?
And that's what, when I saw this, I thought it's going to end. But it didn't. And this story got shuffled.
I'm surprised the president hasn't pushed that out and declared that there's no pandemic.
It's just crazy. And then in Penn State, a sports doctor there warned that 1/3 of Big Ten athletes with COVID-19 diagnoses were found to have the heart condition of myocarditis. Now, the school claims that's not the case, but that's what the doctor says. So myocarditis is actually a viral infection that weakens the heart, leading to heart failure, abnormal heart rhythms, and even death for young athletes. And according to this doctor, approximately 30 to 35% of COVID-positive Big Ten athletes have some degree of inflammation in their hearts. Now, I will tell you, and this is known throughout the sports world, that when they start beating against each other, banging and whatever, it throws the heart out of its own natural rhythm.
It
And
causes
that's why,
swelling in the pericardial sac.
yes, and that's why a lot of this is happening. And in fact, there's a lot of issue in the trans community because I don't even know what to call them, but the men who have changed to women who want to play on women's sports, and men's chests,
That's not right.
are bigger than women's, and
That's
so
not
they're
right.
banging into these women, which is also causing problems.
That should be wrong, illegal.
Yes, but this is what's going on. So all these things that are happening in sports, I think if you have young people of any kind, they should not be in these combative things where they're banging into each other because they are dying. These people are dying.
At least the gender should be kept within the same gender and not
Well,
transferring over.
As you know, that's now become a legal
I don't
issue,
care.
which it shouldn't, but
It's
it is.
wrong. They still have female genetics or male genetics, and they should not be mixing
I
like that.
agree. And I have my new book coming out, Heights of Relationships, where I discuss this, that it's not just lopping off parts and giving hormones. There's a lot of other things going on in the physical body that you cannot change by doing that. A man
Right.
is a man, a woman is a
The
woman.
woman still has the bone
Regardless of how
density
you
of a
feel.
woman.
Right, there's a lot of things. I've got several pages in my books about this.
The
So
man will have the muscular strength of a man.
all kinds of things.
So that's not fair to
No.
mix them like that in sports.
It's
not
terrible,
fair.
and it's causing problems. And so, yes, they're going to have other issues because this isn't going on. It's not diagnosed, and then unfortunately, some of these young people are dying, and then they're going back to an autopsy and saying, "Oh,
Ooh, wait till I become emperor, people.
yeah." And space helmets, believe it or not, are now a pandemic trend because the makers are claiming they let you breathe, wear glasses, and guess what? You can be more comfortable when you fly.
You're wearing a big helmet on your head.
Yes.
But the airlines won't let you wear that in the plane.
Are you sure?
They won't allow these things on the plane.
I
No.
didn't know that.
Yeah,
Why? Do they say?
because they it could be dangerous.
I don't know. Well, anyway, I just thought that was interesting. And Governor Brown of Portland, of Oregon State, declared or extended her COVID-19 state of emergency until guess when? November 3rd.
What a coincidence!
Isn't
That
that
happens to be
odd?
election day.
Isn't that odd?
That's very odd.
And speaking about governors, now we know that.
Don't even talk about this one.
Yep. Michigan Democrat, believe it or not, is standing up to Wichner
Mm.
and fighting to repeal a little-known law allowing her dictatorship.
You know what they also call him now? Whittler.
Oh, that's good. I like that one.
I like Whittler.
Whittler has been empowered by our state's 1945 Emergency Powers of Governor Act, which allows the governor almost unlimited power in times of emergency.
Which is going to be overturned soon.
And conservative Republicans were pushing back, but now Macomb
County.
Macomb County Executive Mark Hackel, who is the top Democrat in Michigan's third largest county, says he supports repealing this 1945 law that gives
1946, I think.
no 45 according to this article. No, it's 45 because I've seen it in other places. The 45 law that gives her the ability to declare a state of emergency and keep the declaration in place without input from the legislature.
Whittler, your days are coming to an end.
Hackle says no one person should have endless authority
Right.
and ability to bypass another branch of government.
Absolutely.
And he says, I can't believe there isn't more of an outcry, but we have been crying out ever since
Yeah,
this thing
since
happened.
March.
So that I don't really agree with. But anyway, the governor, because of this law, it says, may unilaterally and of her own initiative implement orders, rules, and regulations as she sees fit, and may keep those orders, rules, and regulations in effect as long as she so chooses. Now, there's a reason why the federal government has a system of checks, balances, and separation of powers, and this takes it away, this law.
I hope she gets arrested and put in prison for the rest of her life.
So we have a group here in Michigan, which I put on my Facebook page, and you put
And
on
I
your
did too.
Facebook
I
page.
sent it to everybody
It's
in Michigan.
It's called Unlock Michigan, which is a coalition of Michiganders who oppose her power grab. And it's seeking to collect 340,047 valid, you have to be valid to sign, valid
right.
petition signatures. And once they have that, this is for repealing this Emergency Powers of Governor Act. As soon as they have that, it says the legislature could enact the repeal and she cannot veto that. Now the governor...
Right.
The governor has expressed disdain at the group's
Oh,
attempts
poor
to
thing.
curb her power. She has said, quote, Any attempt to strip away the powers of the governor during this crisis is irresponsible, dangerous, and foolish.
Excuse me, what you did, Whitler, was irresponsible, dangerous, and foolish.
But Hackle, remember Democrat Hackle, believes it's past the time to end the statewide state of emergency.
Everybody hates her guts, even Democrats.
We have a population here in Michigan of 10 million. We've only had 115,000 confirmed cases. And
most of those were in the nursing homes that she stuck the people in.
Well, the deaths, I don't know what the nursing home deaths is, but the deaths were about 6,800, and that's roughly what's in the nursing homes.
That's what she killed up all of them.
Yeah, so this is according to Johns Hopkins data. We flattened the curve. There's no surge in hospitals. Individual counties in Michigan have begun lifting their own states of emergencies. And guess what Whitler did? She extended our state of emergency through October 1st.
Right, and she'll keep doing that till the election.
And so this continues, and well, hopefully this Unlock Michigan will go through.
Yeah, that's supposed to be imminent.
Yes. So anyway, we'll see what happens. So if you're here in Michigan, sign the petition as long as you're a registered voter.
Yes.
Because their goal is actually 500,000 because they're figuring.
But they don't need that.
They don't need that many. They're figuring that there will be some invalid ones.
And once we get those signatures, it's over. She cannot veto it.
Right.
She can do nothing. She's done.
Right. So look on our Facebook pages. We've got it posted there. Now in California, back to California, the craziness. Remember, I was talking to you about Scott Wiener, who's openly gay, who wanted this SB 145 bill passed that will allow the judges to decide whether the offender should be registered as a sexual offender. Well, that passed, and it's actually gone on to the governor to sign into law, which, knowing Newscomb, he probably will sign that.
Pelosi's nephew.
But it did pass, and I was particularly interested in talk radio host Rush Limbaugh's commentary because he said that anytime we regard children as willing participants, there's a problem.
Yes,
He predicted that once this gets signed into law, which I believe Newscomb will do.
Probably.
Once this gets signed into law, that 10 years, there has to be a 10-year difference, and then it's okay.
Between the adult and the child?
And the child. Then
So an adult is in 21?
Yes.
So that person can be with an 11-year-old.
They said around, I think the ages are 14 to 17, so it would be a 24-year-old with a 14-year-old, which still is not good. So 10 years. So it says once this gets signed into law, this is Rush Limbaugh's commentary, that 10 years is going to become 15 down the road because that's the way the left operates, which is true.
Yeah,
he says it's just the beginning of the descent into even worse circumstances. This is just one state where it will spread beyond the borders and boundaries of California at some point if it's not stopped.
And that's why California needs to go, because they're doing bad, evil things.
Yes. Now this was interesting. This is moving on to Australia along the same lines. We have also seen the increase of incest in the news.
I saw that thing.
Okay, so in Australia, there's a show called Boyfriend or Daddy, where a woman comes on with an older man, and then the hosts have to guess whether it's her husband or whether it's her boyfriend or her father.
What a stupid show that is.
And if they fool the hosts, then the couple, the two people, get $1,000. So this
all that for $1,000.
Yeah, selling your soul for $1,000. And this is Australian dollars.
It was not even worth 3 cents or something.
So on this, they have a video of supposedly a woman who's 26 years old with her father, who's 49, making out. And
what father could do that?
And who would do this?
How could even
But this is the way they imprint people that this is okay.
It's not okay.
It's not okay. So Australia, get rid of this show. Boycott this show. Don't go on here. It's horrible.
Australia, I'm shocked at you.
Now here's another, I guess, semi-shocking thing, considering it. This is a woman who, it doesn't say where she's from, but anyway, she claims that a friend of hers alerted her that there was a child sex doll for sale on Amazon.
Well, that's not a surprise.
That looked like her daughter. So she went on Amazon, and apparently, according to this woman, they had taken a photo of her daughter, even socks and her pose and everything, and put it on the face of 8-year-old daughter of a sex doll.
How could they do that?
And so she said she was so upset, and apparently, of course, you've heard of Elizabeth Smart, who was kidnapped as a child and used as a sex slave. She is advocating people to sign a petition against these child sex dolls.
Unbelievable.
Now, I have to tell you, I went on Amazon and put in sex dolls to see what would come up.
Yeah, there actually is a category?
Yes. I was so shocked. I can't tell you. I don't even know how many pages upon pages
What?
upon pages of sex dolls on Amazon. And horrific things. Your children can go on Amazon and look at these things.
Yeah, but if you mention anything about Q, they block you.
Yeah. So this is what I saw was like horrible. Like I said, there are things that you cannot unsee. And I went through it. I said, okay, it says put in your brand. So I said, okay, what brand? Let's see what the
But
brands
you know what?
are.
You shouldn't have done that because now they're going to put you in that category that you're interested in that.
Well, that's true. I hadn't thought about that. So anyway, who knows what's going to come on my computer now? But the thing is, there's like hundreds of pages of these sex dolls, and that's the thing that shocked me. And it shouldn't be there. It's just
Most of the stuff on Amazon shouldn't be there.
well, that was horrible. Now here's another one. Back to California. California's considering a bill. But now they're calling if you're born that way a bio male and a bio female.
I mean, if you
Biologically, your gender assigned at birth.
not assigned, that's what you came with.
I detest that.
God assigned you.
I detest that phrase, assigned at birth. I detest it.
That's horrible.
So they want a bill allowing bio male inmates to choose if they're housed in women's prison, because men who identify as women are being molested when they're put in a male's prison. So it's dangerous. So right now in California, whatever their sex they're assigned at birth, that's the prison they go into. The Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, that's how they decide. So the bill, and guess who sponsored it? Can you guess?
Newscom.
No, Wiener again.
Oh.
Wiener.
They should cut his wiener off.
Wiener. I'd like to know if that's his real name because it's just beyond it.
Anyone with that name.
Wiener says we need to treat them with the basic respect and dignity that they deserve. Now, what about as this article says, the plain old female identifying biological women inmates, they deserve protection from biological men being placed in their prisons. And they cite a story, they call it now a fully intact man, was placed in a women's prison and assaulted a bio female inmate.
So he wasn't really
Right.
identifying as a female.
Right. So this is why I'm saying this is crazy.
You know what? They're criminals. Maybe they're not telling the truth.
And I think California needs to go.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry too, but
I wish
this
you
is
all
terrible.
wealth and health, but California
Yeah.
needs to go.
We need the good people out of there, and if
Yeah,
you're bad
seriously.
people, just
It's
stay.
like-
But all
it's become literally satanic.
it's begun
from
like
top to bottom.
like Satan's playground. How's
Or
that?
worse, it's like Satan's torture
Satan's
chamber.
playground. I don't know. Now here's another good one for you. This is actually in England, another hair salon. A hair salon ran an advertisement for a happy stylist. Did you see this one?
No.
Okay, so she ran it for a happy stylist, but then she received a call from her local job center informing her that they could not run the ad because the word happy is considered discriminatory.
Why?
The man at the job center said, quote, "I'm sorry, but the word happy is a discriminatory word and we are not allowed to use it, as somebody who is not happy will be discriminated against." And then he asked, should we change the word in case somebody thinks they can't apply for the job because they're not a happy person?
So then if you're looking for a hairstylist, but I'm a chef, I'm being discriminated against because I can't get that job because I'm not a hairstylist. So there should be no ad at all.
That's just so crazy. And then, or what about if they want a tall one or a short one or
yeah,
somebody
this
can
whole thing,
replace?
Britain, this is why it lost the empire.
Yeah, but it's across the sea. It's
I mean,
all.
Britain,
It's not-
people in Britain are kind of nuts to begin with.
Yeah.
But this is really stupid.
Okay. Then we're going to move on to Elon Musk.
Do we have to?
We have to, because I don't know if you saw that they put a Neuralink brain implant in a pig.
They should put in him.
So this was interesting to me because he claims it's like a Fitbit, which is some kind of a watch thing you put on your hand.
I don't know.
Yeah, so like if you run or something, it's supposed to like take your heart and your pulse and
uh-huh.
things like that.
Oh,
Track your
okay,
miles.
okay,
It's called
I
a
know what
Fitbit.
that is, okay.
He said it's like a Fitbit for your skull. So a little different because a Fitbit goes on your wrist. This they put stuff in your
It's
head.
inside.
Yes. So this is called Neuralinks. It's technology that sinks electrodes into the brain, then uses a chip to communicate with computers outside your skull. And it has 1,024 thin electrodes that go into your brain that penetrate just the outer layer of your brain.
Mhm. So what could go wrong?
Yeah. And then there's a Bluetooth link to an outside computing device. And so, of
So
course,
you become a Borg.
yeah, they're claiming that it has a medical focus to start, so people with brain and spinal cord injuries or congenital defects. Well, if I was in that situation, I might say, okay, because what's there to lose? I'm in a really bad spot. But what they're talking about with this is they want to move it forward into things like conceptual, they call it conceptual telepathy, where two people can communicate electronically by thinking at each other instead of writing or speaking. And the long-term goal, because they're so afraid that artificial intelligence will be vastly smarter and then it's going to exterminate humans. What kind of brainwashing program is this?
It absolutely will exterminate humans.
It could, but it's not going to. And then what he wants to do is, this is his vision. He sees Neuralink connecting people to their own digital AI incarnations, so the future is controlled by the combined will, get that name, phrase, the combined will of the people of Earth. It's already doing that. It's just you're not hooked to AI. It's already responding to what you're thinking. Read our material. He goes on to say it's going to be important from an existential threat perspective to achieve a good AI symbiosis. You could basically store your memories as a backup and restore them. You could potentially download them into a new body or into a robot body. He wants people to learn to see, well, not learn, but because of this thing, you could see an infrared, ultraviolet, or X-ray, and to have supervision. And he's building up, now this is also scary to me, a robotic installer of this thing that ultimately is designed to handle the full surgical installation process. Would you want your brain being operated on like this? This includes opening up the scalp, removing a portion of the skull, inserting the 1,000 whatever, thread electrodes along with an accompanying computer chip, then closing the incision, and he says the installer is designed to dodge blood vessels to avoid bleeding. So you want a robot doing this to your head?
Well, no, because you do it to me.
Yeah, I would do that to you. I love you enough, I would do that.
I know.
Yeah. And then, of course, he goes on to say that Neuralink chips can measure temperature, pressure, movement data, could warn you about an impending heart attack or stroke, and it gets the way it gets is it's charged wirelessly through the skin. And then problems include, besides what could go wrong during the surgery, infection, inflammation, and follow-up surgery to adjust electrode position.
Oh, that's nothing.
Yeah, well, do that. And speaking of what things can, like telepathy, plants. Now, I kind of like this article. Plants might be able to tell us about the location of dead bodies, because sometimes people die either on their own or there's nefarious things behind them in the forest.
Their wife plants them in the garden.
Something like that. So this plant biologist who studies the way that plants communicate, he was wondering about native plants who've not been genetically engineered, how they sense and report things. So
I think that's racist against the native plants.
That could be. That's true. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
So they want to listen to how plants respond to decomposing humans, and then see if they can find where the decomposing humans are under the trees.
So
I like
how
that.
about trying that in the cemetery?
Well, interestingly enough, and this is I've reported on this once before, University of Tennessee has actually a forensic anthropology center. That's what they call it. But it's a woodland where they put people who donated their bodies,
I heard about
and
that.
they put them around in this place, and they watch them decompose.
Right.
So I thought that was kind of
heard.
interesting.
And they actually do detective work. They're like trained detectives there.
So I thought that was kind of interesting. That's what kind of like this story. So now they want to find out if the trees are actually telling them, like if they get a big burst of nitrogen from the decomposing bodies.
I applied once to be one of the bodies, but I was rejected.
Yeah, it's because you're alive. That's why. So anyway, I just thought that was an interesting story. And my last interesting story has to do with the pandemic, scandemic. That did you know that during the April, which was the height, they're calling that, I don't know why, because it's still going on.
Yeah, that was the height, should be done now.
Of the COVID-19 crisis and lockdown, that UFO sightings increased 51%.
Yeah, because it became a tourist attraction for aliens.
Yeah,
like, look at those stupid humans, what they're doing.
So anyway, I just thought that was interesting because they keep bringing up the alien stuff over and over and over and over again. And they said that this guy, let me see, what's his name? Peter Davenport directs the UFO Reporting Center, but guess what, out of Washington State. And he said that firsthand accounts through his website and phone, he's been answering 25 to 50 calls per day. And the article ends by saying very cryptically that the Pentagon last month, which we know has been like decades ago, But just last month, they announced that it's forming a new task force led by the U.S. Navy to investigate UFOs.
I just met a lot of admirals.
I know.
In the Navy, you know.
Yeah, interesting that
important people.
you were up there, Montauk Alien Connection with all these admirals, so you want to read the
Well, I
story.
wasn't there with the admirals.
So tell us what you got going on.
Well, first, before we do that,
Yeah,
do you
before.
want to do this or you want me to just do this? Well, let's talk about the business opportunity.
First?
Yeah, why not?
Alright.
Because how many of you have watched Star Trek? I'm sure most of you have. And the little tricorder, what was it? The doctor would go, "Oh, Jim, you got something wrong with your tibia," or whatever. And
Then they fixed it.
and then they fixed it. And then it's kind of this, what we're going to get into. It's called an AO scan mobile device, which is a digital body analyzer. It's the size of a cell phone, military cell phone. And those of you who are on my site and you know that I do the frequency activated reports, you know, with 1.4 million frequencies in the human body, and if you're missing one or something is distorted, you get a problem in your mind, your physical self, your emotions, and so on. And so this AO scan mobile device, and I'll just read to you what it is because it's very new. It's a modern device that utilizes a sonic frequency scan developed by physicists and doctors that were involved in the Russia space program. And it's a natural body scanner like an echolocation. High frequency sounds targeted to the body and their echoes interpreted to determine the response of objects. So echolocation, also biosonar, is a biological sonar used by several animal species, including dolphins. They shoot and then it comes back and tells them what's going on.
And bats.
Yeah, and so it's based on 20 years of research by a number of Russian teams who recorded frequencies emitted by healthy human organs. It's like an EKG or ECG electrocardiogram or an EEG electroencephalogram, which measures the sonic vector potential, frequency response, and its output response. And so it's basically telling you which frequencies are not at
That you're missing.
optimum
or-
level
yes.
throughout the whole body. It's a very simple device to use. It's like wearing headphones with transducers around your ears, and then it completes like the reading, and it's instantly analyzed, computed, and shown on your cell phone. And it can pinpoint areas where support is needed that regular medical tests will not show. And it's a comprehensive scan, takes only 90 seconds, which they recommend you do in the morning and again in the evening, 90 seconds. The results are returned instantly and sent to your client, if you have a client, sent to the email or your email. And it also recommends nutritional supplements. But here's the best part. Because the mobile device can generate therapeutic frequencies to give the body a daily sonic tune. So it actually will fix the frequencies.
It corrects the frequencies
It corrects
that are
them.
out of balance or missing.
Yes, and it is designed to capture, amplify, and imprint subtle energy like radionics frequencies to target a remedy, like homeopathy, for example, and even other objects that you can use, like a bracelet, necklace, ring, for healing purposes, and it imprints it. The device is a quick scan aid to any physician. It's a $95 a year membership, and with that you will get a phone which will cost $475 if you get the $95.
Yeah, it's regular,
membership.
almost $700,
But-
but with the membership, it's only $475.
Yes, and it's a $199 a month software fee with updates constantly that you're getting, but between now and Labor Day, it's $149.
Actually, September 7th, I believe.
Which is Labor Day.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're interested, and this is going to be really, really, really big, you can contact Patricia at customersupport@expansions.com. She will not answer your questions, but she'll refer you to us. So it's only email, please, customersupport@expansions.com. We will we will contact all interested people, and please, only if you're interested. Do not ask a billion questions, only if you're interested in this, and I will send you the information. It's a ground floor opportunity, but it's going to get really big. Many big name people, I can't mention who they are, but many big name people are coming in. There's going to be literally tens of thousands by Christmas.
And I want to interject here because If you're on our mailing list, we are going to be sending out a newsletter with all these links that are going to be giving you the specifics. So if you haven't signed up for our newsletter, you can do that via our website, expansions.com. Get on our free newsletter, and then this will come directly to your inbox.
Dr. Charles McWilliams, who is the Grandmaster of SMOC, has been named the science officer of this company.
Sacred Medical Order of the Knights of Hope.
I think it's based in Utah, the company.
Yes, I think so.
But it's now global. It's going global. They're looking for top tier people to start this company.
And then when you buy, if you sell a phone, if you decide you want to do that, you get something back. You get a rebate from that.
So basically, if you sell the phones, these devices, it would basically cost you nothing to operate it every month, and you'll get income, and big income. The doctor who created this device, who took it from the Russian technology, is very interested in SMOC. He most likely will be joining SMOC and coming to our symposium in end of October. And if he does, all his people are going to be coming too. It's going to be huge.
Now, we do not have ours yet, but if we have it by next week, we will show it to you.
It's been shipped. We should be getting it very shortly. And it is the most phenomenal device. It's like you're in Star Trek. It will read, fix, unbelievable. And there will be additions to this as the months go on. I can't tell you all the additions, but specific medical programs that will be added.
Program updates, which is why you need the package to go with it.
The monthly package,
Yes.
that includes all of your updates.
Yes. So there is a monthly fee, an ongoing fee, but if you sell them or if you use it to, if you're a practitioner of some kind, you use it in your office as people pay you for the reports, then that also will offset your monthly fee.
And you could purchase it just for yourself.
Yes. A lot of
you
people
don't have to sell anything. You just
exactly.
do it for yourself.
If you have health issues.
But it is a very, very big money maker, and it will be quite amazing. I'm very excited about it. I've never been so excited actually about anything.
Really? Except for me.
Since you.
Since me.
Since you.
Yeah, and remember.
But you're much more expensive per month.
That's true. So remember, our story of how we met is in Montauk Alien Connection. If you haven't read this book, this is Stuart's autobiography with a slight mention of myself in here. And of course, this goes along with our True World History package. True World History, Blue Blood, True Blood, so all that's on our site. This medical device, actually, you don't want to quit doing your mental work. It all comes together because nothing from the outside can totally fix you. You have to deal with your mind. So you want to be sure and get our healing packages. These are our latest books, but these you need Hyperspace Plus, you need Healing Archetypes and Symbols, and you need your daily affirmations. So we have our Say No to Mind Control. We have all kinds of book packages. We put them together on our site. So if you're new to our work, it makes it easier for you to determine.
You know what I just noticed?
What?
On the back of this phone, there's an infinity symbol.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Very interesting.
So of course that's one of the archetypes that we use and promote.
Yes.
But anyway, so be sure and get your membership, expansions.com. That's where we keep you up to date on a daily basis. Because our life is always ongoing. We are always researching. We are always writing, reading. We have so many people that we're in contact with on a daily basis that are so high level we can't even talk to you about. But we get passed on the information that is pertinent to our clientele. So we have a global readership. You want to be involved in this. I'm working on the 72 Names of God right now. And that's a very powerful blog. And we're putting together our weekly webinars. Our new ones, which will be based on a lot of that work in there, along with our spirituality. I don't know why I have two of the Revelations, King Bee, Queen Bee, Revelations, of course, Template of God Mind, there are other Revelations, and Heights of Spirituality. So this series, plus more, will be our weekly webinar, and September 10. We have a free webinar coming out. I don't even know, here it is, based on our True Reality of Sexuality book. So a free one, September 10. The Zoom link is already posted on our site as well as our Facebook pages. So you can sign up for free.
It's in English and Spanish.
Yes.
And it's in conjunction with the Bionutrition Center in Quito, Ecuador.
Yes, which we thank Carlos very much, Dr. Carlos Jaramillo, for everything he does, because his work is also fantastic. And then this will be followed 2 weeks later.
On September 24th with a full 2-hour webinar that will be
with a fee. But this one is free if you're interested, so, which of course you are. So expansions.com, get your membership, stay up to date with us. We appreciate your time, your efforts of taking care of yourself, because that's what helps everybody.
And get in on this business opportunity. I'm telling you, between now and Christmas, by Christmas it's going to be
This
through
would be
the
a
roof.
good Christmas present for people.
Yes, yes.
But remember what I said to you, we will be sending the information out in our new free newsletter. So get on our mailing list, ASAP, expansions.com, free mailing list, to get this information so you can find out how it can help you and your loved ones. And if you're a practitioner, your clients, I agree, it's going to be absolutely amazing when it's out there.
All right, so that's all we have for today. It was a long one, and we will see you next week. And those of you in the United States, enjoy your Labor Day week holiday.
Bye-bye.
Bye.